So this is our electrical stimulation. This has both the TENS capability and the muscle stimulation capability. And we're just going to kind of go through this. It's going to take several minutes. But first of all, we start with new electrodes. And we plug these in. Now, it doesn't matter if it's red or black. It's an alternating current. So don't let that confuse you. But I kind of think of this as almost like a small radio that has two different sets of speakers. So these two electrodes are going to channel 1, and these two are going to channel 2. And I kind of like having these all plugged in before I even start. So we're going to be starting with the TENS unit, just since it pops up first on the menu. Now I have this plugged in, although this has a backup battery. We want to have this plugged in because then we know that the stimulus is always the same. So we have a kind of a constant variable there. So I'm going to turn this on. Okay, so we see that when that's turned on, it's going to go to the TENS mode first. So hopefully you can see that that's at the TENS mode. Now if I wanted to go over to the EMS, which stands for electrical muscle stimulator, I would just hit the mode button and it goes to the muscle stimulator. But in this case, we're going to start with TENS, and we always want it to be on N first. N stands for normal, and that's the mode that you want to be in when you're turning it on. You know what? Let me take that back. With this particular unit, if you were going to use the modulated frequency, you would actually do it now, because it doesn't switch over to modulated until 30 seconds into the treatment. So you can see here that that's flashing on N, and that's what we're going to do today. But if you wanted a modulated frequency, it would be the M, and that's just another modulated frequency. And then this is the burst mode. Some people use that. It's more of a beating mode, but almost all of the time we're going to use either the normal or the modulated. So I'm pressing the up arrow. It doesn't matter which up arrow I press, it will make it shift to the next one. And then I'm just going to hit the S for set. And so now I've identified that I'm going to be using the normal mode on the TENS unit because that's bracketed. And then from there, I'm going to adjust the time. It's on 15 minutes, but if I wanted to do 16 minutes, I would just press the up. 14, I would press the down. And again, it doesn't matter which side. It's going to recognize it, whether you're doing it on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. It's all that matters is the up or down arrow. And then from there, so that's 15 minutes, I'm going to set that. The pulse width is already preset, so you don't have to worry about that. That's 150. So I'm going to hit set, and then the pulse rate is 100, and again, that's preset. You shouldn't have to really worry about that. Usually we do a high rate TENS. If one of the therapists wants a low rate TENS, then they would probably do it themselves, and they would adjust the rate down from there. But we're going to do a regular high rate TENS, so I'm going to set that. And then from there, it's going to be ready to start turning up the amplitude, and this is the stage of the process that the person actually starts feeling the symptoms. Now, ideally, the electrodes would have already been placed on the patient by the time we got to this point. So keep that in mind. I'll go ahead and place these on Robert, just so that you can see how that's done, and hopefully it doesn't time me out. Realistically, again, I should have done that before I even started. So I'm going to do that now. Now when I take these electrodes off, I don't grab by the wire, I always grab by the electrode. And in this case, we're going to pretend like his thigh is hurting, and we're just going to put a box around his pain. So I'm going to go one there. You know what, let's do this. let's pretend like his knee is hurting. So in this case, we're using TENS for pain control. And so I'm going to put a couple of these above the knee that is painful and a couple below. And for pain control, that's what we do. Now, that's not to say that you can't put one right on where it hurts. That's okay too. You want to try not to put them right over a bone, so I wouldn't put it on the kneecap or the shin or the spine of the scapula, but bracket the area. And now from here, I'm going to start turning that up. And so all I have to do for that is to hit the arrow. And again, ideally this would have been done before we even got to this point. I like to go back and forth from right to left just because it seems to be a more even stimulus. And so I'll turn this up slowly, and I'll ask the patient to let me know when they first start feeling that. And I'll let them know beforehand that this is not supposed to hurt, so I'll turn it up slowly, and again, we'll turn it up only to their comfort level. We would not want to do this if they had a pacemaker. Feeling that?
Feel it right there.
Okay. Now, I want you to feel this significantly, but I really don't want it to hurt. Okay? So tell me when you can feel that nice and strong, but you feel like if I was to turn it up any higher, it would be uncomfortable.
Right there. Feels good.
Right about there. Good. So when I stop turning this up, it's basically going to give me about a minute to make sure that I'm finished, and then it's going to lock the system. And that's so that if you accidentally press one of these buttons, it wouldn't increase the stimulus there. So we can see that the machine is running, and we would let the patient know what to expect from there. Now, occasionally these wires up here go bad. That's why we don't want to twist these or kink them at the top. If that happens, this is a machine that will not run when the wire has been damaged. It will just make a loud beep, and that means it's not getting full signal to the electrode, and we throw these away when that happens. So this is the only machine we've ever used that has that fail safe. So we know that if it starts beeping and the intensity drops to 0, that's because we have a defective wire. And that happens in these units, but at least in the old units, if you had a cracked wire and then it moved like this, it might shock somebody, but that doesn't happen with this unit, or at least it's not supposed to. So you can see where that went on the locked mode there. So no matter what I press here, well, I should take that back. If I press an up button, nothing happens. If I press a down button, you can turn it down from there once it's locked. And that's, again, just a safety mechanism. So now I can turn it back up if you wanted to adjust it. And then again, that's going to time me out, and it's going to lock again in about 30 seconds to a minute. And so the idea here is once it's in this mode where it's lit up like this and you don't see a little lock sign on it, then in that particular mode you can adjust these. So you have to be careful. Once it goes gray and you see the little lock, the only way you can adjust this like that, the only way you can adjust it would be to press one of these 2 down arrows. So right now I'm going to press an up arrow, nothing happens, right? I'm going to press that up arrow, nothing happens. I could even press the off switch, nothing happens, which I don't like that part of the system, just because when I press off, I'd like it to turn off. But in reality, I have to turn the down arrow first, and then I can turn it off. So I've just turned the down arrow, I've just hit the down arrow. Now I press that, and I have to keep it pressed for 3 seconds, and then it turns off. So when you come in and there's still time left